Israel National Radio.
We call them God's warriors.
We do not live in
occupied territories,
but rather we've been preoccupied with this land for 3,000 years.
Its biblical name, Judea and Samaria.
And we are indeed
determined to settle the land.
So thank you, CNN, for making sure that everybody knows that we're
home to some of the most zealous of God's Jewish warriors.
Israel National Radio.
Light unto the Nations with Ari Abramowitz and Jeremy Gimpel.
Shalom Aleichem, Jews, Gentiles, and nations of the world. Ari Abramowitz here, reporting live from Beit El Israel. We're at the brink. Everybody is saying it. Everybody is feeling it. These are very crucial times to be awake, to be conscious, to be aware of what's happening in the world. Because a lot is happening, and there's a lot to be aware of, and it takes a certain amount of humility and prayer to have any level close to the clarity that's needed to understand what's happening right now. My commander, my best friend, my Rebbe, my mentor, he's not in the studio right now. He is going throughout the United States, truly serving as a light unto the nations, fulfilling the role of the Jewish people. And really, when I say my commander, he's the commander, and I feel like right now, I need my commander back here in the land of Israel. Jeremy, shalom.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right, man. A lot has happened this week. Really, a lot has happened with you. A lot's happened here. I really want to talk about it with you. First of all, tell me how you're doing.
I'm doing great on a very individual level. I'm here. I feel like I've never had such a successful speaking tour. My message is being received by Orthodox Jews, by Reform Jews, by conservative Jews, by Christians from all different backgrounds. People are really just being lit up for Israel, lit up for God, returning to their spiritual roots. I'm having such a successful time, and I know that I'm not doing anything. Hashem is totally taking over and just allowing the truth to come out. I'm having a spectacular time, and at the same time, I'm so just fearful that I'm so distant from Israel with all that's happening there. I'm so, I feel so helpless here in New Mexico with all that's happening right now in the land of Israel. I just feel so helpless and so disconnected. And so on a national level, connected to my people, I feel so distant.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I can definitely understand it because I don't know how I would feel being so far from Israel at a time like this. But I really wish you were here. There's a lot we need to talk about, so let's get right into it. First of all, people have been emailing, people have been writing. They want to know what happened with the interview, with the debate between you and Pastor Joel Hunter on BBC. Let me just give a quick little background about this before I let you say what's been going on. Basically, after hearing about this petition of these 34 evangelical pastors, which a lot of people have heard about, they wanted to establish a Palestinian state in the biblical and the historical heartland of Israel. We couldn't believe this. These are Christian pastors who are supposed to believe, according to even their website, their ethics, they say the Bible. That is what they go by, and yet they want to give away Judea and Samaria, divide the land of Israel. We wanted to have them on the show. We invited Joel Hunter to come on the show. I called his communications director. I said, we'd love to have Pastor Hunter on the show. He can explain and defend his beliefs, explain why he believes that way. And the director of communications said to me, well, how do you feel about it? And I said, how do I feel about having a Palestinian terror state on the biblical and the historical land of Israel, the land that Hashem has given me, that I've been mourning and crying for and praying for 2,000 years, to establish a terror state? I don't know. I'm still trying to make up my mind. He knew, he understood, and he said, okay, we'll get right back to you. And then he did. Very shortly thereafter, he wrote and said, Pastor Hunter doesn't feel like this is the venue, quote-unquote, to defend his beliefs. Later, Pastor Hunter went on to say he didn't want to walk into an ambush. Interestingly enough, Jeremy, in retrospect, in hindsight, what was that really about? Projection. The whole show was about projection. He didn't want to walk into an ambush. We're saying an ambush? We just wanted to have you on. Remember, we had on the spokesman for the atheist movement of America. And we're the antithesis of that. And it was a normal, kind, polite conversation because it wasn't an ambush. You're entitled to your opinion if you're willing to defend it. And why did he say an ambush? Because that's exactly what he would have done. He would have done an ambush. And this is exactly, Jeremy, actually where our listeners come in. What happened with our listeners? They went out and they were calling. We didn't even provide any contact information. They did the research. They contacted Pastor Hunter. They emailed him. They called him. They put his feet to the flames. And they really demanded that he defend his position. A beautiful thing. And really the power of one. Incredible. There was so much pressure on him. And then after you said on the next show, Pastor Hunter, you don't want to walk into an ambush? Fine, let's do it on your terms. Wherever you want to have this debate, let's do it. And Pastor Hunter, finally, after that challenge, he said, okay, let's go on NPR.
Also, let's just not forget one thing. There was a group of righteous Jews and Gentiles that went down to his church on Sunday morning and demonstrated, holding up passages from the Bible, handing out notes, and the people of his church said, what? He said what? He did what? And the people in his church had no idea what he had actually done behind their back. He didn't say it in front of their church. They didn't talk about it. This was something that he was doing to gain political clout behind the church's back that they had no idea about. So once people were demonstrating outside his church, he knew that he needed to calm the situation, and then he agreed to debate me.
Right. That is so crucial. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because talk about the power of one exponential. John Helene simply put this together, and he possibly, I think, could have changed the course of world history with that. I mean, that's what we have to all realize, that in our hands is the ability and the potential to change the course of world history if we simply understand it. And what's that about? When we understand God created the world and God is infinite, then us having a little bit of God in us, there are infinite possibilities. Our potential is infinite. And John Helene stepped up to the plate, and he did exactly that. And there was this demonstration. And finally, Pastor Hunter, after you challenged him to a debate on his terms, he finally said, okay. And what did he say? He said he wants to debate on NPR, National Public Radio. And I mean, everybody knows. I don't need to go into all of NPR and what NPR is all about. How, when there's that murder in the Jewish Federation in Seattle, NPR didn't find it worthy of reporting that a Muslim murdered Jews in the Jewish Federation. Why should they bring that to American Jews' attention? A prime example that I found on camera, it says, was NPR's September 18, 2006 discussion of Samir Kuntar, a Palestinian terrorist who infiltrated with 3 others from Lebanon into Israel, breaking into an apartment on April 22, 1979. The terrorists dragged a father, Danny Haran, and his 4-year-old daughter, Einat, to a nearby beach. There the father was shot to death, and according to eyewitnesses, the child's head was crushed with a rifle butt. Kuntar, now held by Israel, is one of the prisoners Hezbollah has tried to coerce Israel into releasing. In this Morning Edition segment, host Steve Inskeep claims that NPR is looking at both sides, quote-unquote, of the Kuntar issue. In Israel, Kuntar is described as a monster. In Lebanon, he's considered a resistance fighter. NPR's Jamie Tarabai has been speaking with people on both sides of the issue, including Kuntar's brother. Both sides of the issue? He bashed in the skull of a 4-year-old girl. He's not a resistance fighter. He's a murderer. That's it. There are absolutes in the world. It doesn't matter what anyone looks at. But the problem is, if you don't truly believe in God, then there's no absolute morality. And if there's no absolute morality, then Kuntar is their resistance fighter, and who are we to say otherwise? And it's, so that's who he wanted. It really he exposed himself a whole lot, in my opinion, about this. So he wanted NPR. Finally, he agreed on BBC, which we all know is the propaganda rag of all propaganda rags. And, I don't want to go into ripping into the BBC. Everybody knows what the BBC is all about. Most Israelis, most Jews that have any consciousness refuse to even work with them for exactly the reason that we've learned. But you and I, we were just saying, bring it to us. You want to debate on Al Jazeera? Let's go to Al Jazeera, wherever you want. And we went to BBC. Now, Jeremy, tell us what happened.
Well, I'll tell you, I was in South Carolina at the time. Pastor Hunter is, of course, in Florida. They connected us. I was in the studio. He was in the studio. They connected us to their studio in London. And I was praying, and I was prepared. And I went into the debate just praying to Hashem, saying, Hashem, I'm not here for me. I'm really here to fight or battle. I'm here to just expose the truth and to enlighten people and to show what is right and what is wrong. So just, let me say the right thing. And I went into the debate, and I came out. It was about 40 minutes. I came out of the debate on cloud 9. I mean, you should have asked the people that saw me when I left the debate. I was so happy. because everything was brought out. Everything was exposed. As Pastor Hunter was quoting UN resolutions and quoting different American presidents from Nixon to Carter, I was quoting